Hollywood's golden age sold us the dream of women who seemed to smell like roses. But behind closed doors, some of its sexiest icons carried the heavy scent of sweat, cigarettes, and last night's gin. The goddesses of the silver screen, the same faces plastered across perfume ads, were whispered about for body odor so strong it cleared entire sets. This was not the fantasy the studios wanted remembered. Co-stars described armpits soaked in stress, wigs hiding unwashed scalps, and gowns that reeked of booze and tobacco. One actress was told to spray perfume or leave the set. Another suffered from hair treatments that left her platinum scalp smelling like chemicals mixed with sweat. These weren't just idle rumors. They were Hollywood's dirtiest secrets, laughed about at parties but erased from the history books. And here's the scandal. Audiences never knew. Men dreamed of kissing them on screen, while their co-stars dreaded standing too close. So let me ask you, can someone still be called a sex symbol if people couldn't stand the smell? Drop your answer below, and if you're ready for the truth Hollywood never wanted printed, hit that subscribe button now. Tonight we expose 7 old Hollywood legends whose beauty was divine, but whose odor was diabolical. Number 1. Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner was the ultimate paradox of old Hollywood. On screen, she was the embodiment of seduction, the woman who could topple kings with a glance, the goddess whose name alone could sell tickets. Men wanted her, women envied her, and the studios built her image as pure, unattainable glamour. But away from the red carpets and camera flashes, the whispers told a different story. Ava wasn't known for smelling like roses. She was known for reeking of tobacco, gin, and the raw scent of a woman who didn't care about keeping up appearances. Gardner lived fast, partied harder, and bathed less than the studio publicity machine wanted the world to believe. She chain-smoked through interviews, drank whiskey like water, and often walked onto a set drenched in the scent of last night's excess. One co-star allegedly muttered that working with her was like kissing an ashtray wrapped in silk. Another remembered long filming days where makeup crews begged her to at least rinse off or spray perfume before stepping into close-ups. But here's the twist. Ava knew, and she didn't care. If anything, she wore her odor as a badge of rebellion against the suffocating rules of the studio system. While MGM wanted her as a porcelain goddess, Ava proudly embraced being messy, human, and untamed. She laughed at the rules of hygiene the same way she laughed at the men who thought they could control her. I drink, I smoke, and I curse, and I look better than all of you doing it, she once bragged. That's what made her so magnetic. The contradiction between divine beauty and raw imperfection. To her fans, she was untouchable. To those who worked beside her, she was unforgettable for reasons the gossip columns never dared print. So here's the question for you. Does imperfection destroy a legend, or does it make one? Ava Gardner may not have smelled like Chanel No. 5, but she lived a life that no perfume could ever cover. Wild, rebellious, and unapologetically real. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Could you still idolize a goddess if standing next to her made you gag? And if you want more secrets the studio's buried, don't just watch, subscribe. Because this is only the beginning of Hollywood's dirtiest truths. Number 2. Tallulah Bankhead. If Ava Gardner smelled of last night's gin and cigarettes, Tallulah Bankhead smelled of pure defiance. She wasn't just an actress, she was a hurricane, a woman who walked into every room like she owned it and left behind a trail of smoke, booze, and scandal strong enough to choke the timid. On stage and screen, she was magnetic. Off it, she was chaos in human form. Bankhead was notorious for ignoring the polite rules of hygiene and femininity. She bragged about her countless lovers, men and women alike, and laughed at the thought of playing the obedient Hollywood starlet. "Good girls keep diaries," she once said. "Bad girls don't have time." She wasn't exaggerating. Her nights were filled with parties that blurred into mornings, and the smell followed her onto set. Directors complained of costumes reeking of alcohol and sweat. Co-stars whispered that she seemed to live in the same dress for days at a time. One famous story claims that a director finally snapped, begging her to either spray perfume or leave the set altogether. Her reply? A loud laugh that echoed across the soundstage, followed by another drag from her ever-present cigarette. What made Tallulah even more infamous was her unapologetic tongue. She cursed like a sailor, flirted shamelessly with everyone in the room, and used vulgarity as both a weapon and a shield. Where the studio system tried to tame women into porcelain dolls, she embraced being raw, wild, and, yes, smelly. The press called her scandalous. She called herself free. But here's the contradiction. Audiences adored her anyway. The same woman who reeked of unwashed clothes and whiskey could step under the lights and transform into pure magic. That's the paradox of Tallulah Bankhead. She lived in excess, smelled of excess, but projected glamour that no amount of soap could wash away. So here's the question for you. Does honesty make a legend, even when it stinks? Tallulah never hid behind a facade of roses and silk. She was flesh, sweat, and fire. And she dared Hollywood to look away. What do you think? Was Tallulah Bankhead a disgrace to the Golden Age's elegance? Or was she the only one honest enough to admit that glamour always smelled a little rotten? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you're ready for more untold scandals, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we're only just getting started. Number 3. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was the definition of old Hollywood elegance. With her tailored suits, glittering gowns, and icy glamour, she set fashion trends that still echo today. She wasn't just an actress, she was a living work of art, the embodiment of sophistication. But sophistication, as her colleagues quietly revealed, didn't always smell the way you'd expect. Behind the feathers and sequins, Marlene had a reputation for skipping what the studios politely called basic grooming. Her personal hairdresser once confessed that Dietrich flatly refused to shave her underarms and despised deodorant. On set, the combination of sweat under heavy lights, thick fabrics, and long shooting days meant her co-stars sometimes found her allure undercut by a stubborn human odor. One insider put it bluntly, "She looked like a goddess, but when you got too close, you smelled something else." This contradiction, the woman hailed as the ultimate icon of taste, but whispered about for being careless with her own scent, became one of Hollywood's strangest open secrets. Her refusal wasn't ignorance. It was deliberate. Dietrich was a rule breaker in everything she did, wearing men's suits, openly embracing her bisexuality, and daring to defy the carefully polished image the studios tried to force on her. For her, refusing deodorant was part rebellion, part comfort, and part proof that she answered to no one. Yet the paradox remains irresistible. Audiences saw her draped in diamonds, her face lit like a porcelain doll, every frame a poster of perfection. But those who worked beside her carried a different memory. The sharp tang of sweat under couture gowns, lingering in the dressing room long after she left. So, does it ruin the legend? Or does it make her even more compelling? The truth is, Marlene Dietrich was never trying to be perfect. She was trying to be unforgettable. And maybe that's why her name still carries weight today. She wasn't a fragrance on a billboard. She was a force, human and raw, wrapped in glamour but never suffocated by it. What do you think? Does knowing this secret change how you see her? Or does it make her feel more real? Drop your answer below. And if you're ready for the next shock in Hollywood's dirtiest file, hit subscribe. Number 4. Judy Garland. Judy Garland was Hollywood's eternal child star turned tragic diva. To the world, she was the innocent Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, the girl who followed the yellow brick road into cinematic immortality. But behind the curtain, Judy's life was not one of rainbows. It was one of relentless exploitation, addiction, and the physical toll of living under the studio machine. And with that toll came whispers the studio would never print. Garland often carried with her not the scent of roses, but the raw odor of a body breaking down under pressure. From her teenage years, MGM controlled her every breath. They fed her amphetamines to keep her awake, barbiturates to make her sleep, and strict diets that left her frail and constantly sweating under the hot lights. Add the stress of grueling schedules, chain smoking, and heavy drinking later in life, and the result was a body that betrayed the fantasy. Co-stars quietly recalled her costumes drenched with perspiration, her scent sharp and sour, sometimes so overwhelming that stagehands begged for fresh air on set. One actor, off the record, admitted he once refused to hug her during a scene because the smell was too much. But Judy was not to blame. She was a product of a system that chewed her up, drugged her, starved her, and demanded she smile through it all. Her body odor wasn't filth. It was the smell of survival. The scent of a child forced into adulthood too soon, a woman whose body never had the chance to rest or heal. And here lies the contradiction. While audiences adored her voice and saw her as a symbol of innocence, those closest to her saw and smelled the price she paid for it. Her sweat wasn't just sweat. It was evidence of an industry that destroyed its brightest lights from the inside out. So ask yourself, does this secret make Judy Garland less of a legend? Or does it make her story even more heartbreaking? The girl who smelled of struggle, who sang of dreams somewhere over the rainbow, but whose own reality was always clouded by the stench of exploitation. What do you think? Was Judy a victim we should pity, or an icon we should admire for surviving as long as she did? Drop your thoughts below, and if you want more untold truths the studio's buried, hit subscribe. Number 5. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth was the love goddess of Hollywood. With her flowing red hair, smoldering eyes, and iconic performance in Gilda, she defined what it meant to be sultry on screen. Men pinned her posters to their walls, women copied her style, and the studios carefully packaged her as the flawless embodiment of desire. But as with so many stars of the Golden Age, the illusion didn't always match the reality. Behind the shimmering image lay whispers that Rita's beauty carried with it a darker, less glamorous truth. An odor that betrayed her struggles with alcohol, exhaustion, and the grueling demands of Hollywood life. Rita lived under constant pressure, both personal and professional. Married 5 times, including to the volatile Prince Ali Khan, she endured endless heartbreak and scrutiny. She also developed a heavy dependence on alcohol, often drinking late into the night and showing up to set the next day with the stale scent of booze clinging to her. Co-stars recalled long shooting days where her sweat mixed with liquor, leaving behind a smell that perfume couldn't disguise. And then there was her hair. Those famous red locks weren't all her own. Rita relied heavily on wigs and hairpieces, which trapped heat and moisture on her scalp. Crew members whispered about the unpleasant odor that lingered when the cameras stopped rolling. But just like Ava Gardner and Tallulah Bankhead, Rita refused to conform completely. She was human, imperfect, and tired of being treated like a porcelain doll. One insider once confessed, "She was breathtaking under the lights, but up close she smelled like someone carrying too much weight on her shoulders." That scent wasn't filth. It was the residue of survival in an industry that consumed its stars. The contradiction is what makes her legend haunting. On screen, Rita Hayworth was untouchable, a goddess of love. Off-screen, she was a woman fighting demons, her physical presence marked not by roses, but by the raw reminder that beauty always comes at a cost. So here's the question. Does the whisper of bad hygiene diminish her image, or does it make her more real? Proof that even the most divine icons were still flesh and blood. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Could you still idolize the love goddess knowing her perfume was sometimes just a mask? And if you want the rest of Hollywood's buried secrets, hit subscribe now. Because Rita's story is only one of many. We've spent the night peeling back one of Hollywood's strangest secrets. That even its most glamorous goddesses were whispered about for something as human, as humiliating, as body odor. At first it feels like gossip, the love goddess smelling of booze, the platinum blonde reeking of chemicals, the femme fatale skipping deodorant. But look closer, and it isn't just about hygiene. It's about humanity and the impossible standards that crushed these women from the inside out. Studios sold perfection. They sculpted faces, shaped bodies, and promised women who smelled like roses and champagne. But real life was messier. These actresses worked 18-hour days under hot lights, battling alcohol, cigarettes, stress, and addiction just to survive. Sweat and odor weren't moral failings. They were symptoms of exploitation. And yet, instead of compassion, the whispers became weapons. A flaw became a scandal, trapping them in the cycle of being icons first, humans second. The irony is haunting. We worshipped their images while mocking their realities. We demanded goddesses but punished them for being human. It's the same paradox Hollywood still sells today. Perfection on the surface, scars buried underneath. So here's my question. Do these stories make them less iconic or more human? Drop your answer below. And if you're ready for more of Hollywood's buried secrets, the scandals, the contradictions, the humanity beneath the glamour, subscribe now. Because in old Hollywood, the perfume faded, the lights dimmed, but the truth always lingered.